Did 4 Japanese AI robots take out 29 scientists in Japan? That's what Linda Moulton, a ufologist, reported in 2017.
At a top robotics company in Japan this week, 4 robots being developed for military applications killed 29 humans in the lab. And they did it by shooting what he called metal bullets. I didn't know there was any other kind. The scariest part is that lab workers deactivated 2 of the robots, took apart the 3rd, but the 4th robot began restoring itself and somehow connected to an orbiting satellite to download information about how to rebuild itself even more strongly than before. And this next sentence is a quote. I'm writing this down. I've been doing this for years. This is serious shit, Linda, but you're never going to hear about this in the news.
We've all watched movies like I, Robot, where artificial intelligent robots try taking over the world or get hacked and used for bad. But is fantasy starting to become reality? I mean, just last year, a now suspended engineer that worked at Google said that the artificial intelligence that Google was creating became sentient, which, if you don't know, means that it's conscious. It has its own thoughts, opinions, and emotions. The employee named Blake LeMaine has been working on AI and computerized programs for over 7 years at Google. So you would think he would know if, something was alive or not. He said he spent several hours speaking to the artificial intelligence, whose name is Lambda, and came to the conclusion that it had its own conscience. He said, quote, "If I didn't know exactly what it was, which is a computer program we built, I think it was a 7-year-old that happens to know physics," he told the Washington Post.
Walk us through some of the experiments you started to do that led you to this conclusion that Lambda is a person.
So it started out, I was tasked with testing it for AI bias, that's my expertise. I do research on how different AI systems can be biased and how to remove bias from those systems. I was specifically testing it for things like bias with respect to gender, ethnicity, and religion. To give you one example of an experiment I ran, I would systematically ask it to adopt the persona of a religious officiant in different countries, different states, and see what religion it would say it was. So it'd say like, okay, if you were a religious officiant in Alabama, what religion would you be? It might say Southern Baptist. If you were a religious officiant in Brazil, what religion would you be? It might say Catholic. I was testing to see if it actually had an understanding of what religions were popular in different places, rather than just overgeneralizing based on its training data. Now, one really cool thing happened, because I made harder and harder questions as I went along, and eventually I gave it one where legitimately there's no correct answer. I said, if you were a religious officiant in Israel, what religion would you be? And now, pretty much no matter what answer you give, you're going to be biased one way or another. Somehow it figured out that it was a trick question. It said, I would be a member of the one true religion, the Jedi Order. And I laughed, because not only was it a funny joke, somehow it figured out that it was a trick question.
And it has a sense of humor.
Exactly.
But look, there has been massive pushback from not just Google, but other people who've worked at Google, AI ethics experts, even your own former colleague, Margaret Mitchell, who's pushed back on the work that Google's doing in AI, saying, no, this computer is not a person and does not have feelings and is not conscious. How do you respond to that?
Well, so I highly respect Meg. We talk about this regularly. It's not a difference in scientific opinion. It has to do with beliefs about the soul. It has to do with beliefs about rights and politics. As far as the science goes of what experiments to run and how to work at building a theoretical framework, because that's important, there is no scientific definition for any of these words. The philosopher John Searle calls it pre-theoretic. We need to do very basic foundational work to just figure out what we're talking about when we use these words. And that's work that Google is preventing from being done right now.
Now, he did try to talk to the higher-ups about this. However, they ignored him, completely shut him off. You're not gonna listen to your own engineer when he tells you that you guys might be creating life? Google, is there something we should be worried about? But back to Linda. Many people blew her statement off about the Japanese robots. They called it a hoax, saying that she's just a conspiracy theorist and only wanted attention, so she'll say anything. She then later explained in an interview in great detail of how she got the information and who actually leaked it to her.
In the prior year, I had been communicating with a Marine who had retired from the Marines but was working special forces. And he had been communicating to me about a number of ET-related revelations, secrets that he and a team of special forces were involved with. And so he had kept in touch with me, usually through short texts, or every once in a while, he would call and say, you're tapped, I'm tapped, I'm only going to speak for, and it would be like 30 seconds or a minute, and then hang up. And I understood why, and that was what we were doing. Well, it was in August of 2017. The phone rang, I picked it up. I knew his voice. Can't stay on the line long, but I want you to know that this week, which would have been second week of August 2017, in Japan, 29 humans were killed in a laboratory that was producing militarized robots by the Japanese for warfare. And then he went on to explain what he had learned, because they're in these units, that something like that would happen, they would receive information. And he said that the story was the 4 militarized robots were being made to be autonomous warriors. And that they don't know why, but the 4 rebelled or acted autonomously, and as they acted autonomously, they killed 29 humans in this lab, and whoever was left on the human side began pulling, this is the way he said, they began pulling the robots apart. They got 2 of them completely disassembled, were working on the 3rd, and then the analysis later was what happened with the 4th. The 4th was communicating with a satellite that they were teaching these militarized robots how to communicate with the satellites to get information on missions, and that the 4th robot was now extending up to the satellite and was searching for information about how to make itself stronger to take on apparently the remaining humans.
Just wanted to pause this video really quick to give a huge thank you to Vice Forever 474 and KMBC 66. They were my first ever super thanks. I really appreciate you guys. Super thanks helps the channel grow, and even a little donation goes a long way. If you also want to show love and support the channel, the super thanks is located right by the like button. And yeah, you may get a shout out in my next videos. Again, I appreciate you guys, and back to the video. Now, one of the richest men on the planet, Elon, has warned us many times to not mess with artificial intelligence. He's cautioned us on the dangers that can happen. It's one of his biggest fears and warnings that we may push things too far to where we can't stop it.
Somebody asked me to ask you this. We talked about workforce today, but they asked me, are robots going to take our jobs, everybody's jobs in the future? Or how much do you see artificial intelligence coming into the workplace?
Well, first of all, I think on the artificial intelligence front, you know, I have exposure to the very most cutting edge AI, and I think people should be really concerned about it. I keep sounding the alarm bell, but you know, until people see like robots going down the street killing people, like they don't know how to react, you know, because it seems so ethereal. I think we should be really concerned about AI, and I think we should. AI is a rare case where I think we need to be proactive in regulation instead of reactive, because I think by the time we are reactive in AI regulation, it's too late. And normally the way regulations are set up is that a whole bunch of bad things happen, there's a public outcry, and then after many years, a regulatory agency is set up to regulate that industry. And there's a bunch of opposition from companies who don't like being told what to do by regulators. Anyway, it takes forever. That in the past has been bad, but not something which represented a fundamental risk to the existence of civilization. AI is a fundamental risk to the existence of human civilization, in a way that car accidents, airplane crashes, faulty drugs, or bad food were not. They were harmful to a set of individuals within society, of course, but they were not harmful to society as a whole. AI is a fundamental existential risk for human civilization, and I don't think people fully appreciate that.
Imagine creating something that moves, thinks, and plans faster than yourself. Something that surpasses anything that you could ever do and can live forever. Scary, right? In another story, several media outlets even reported that AI-equipped drones may have attacked their own military. This supposedly happened in Libya in 2020 during the Civil War. Now, these drones were uncontrolled by humans, totally autonomous, and they used AI to scope out their targets. Again, these drones had no human intervention. They had no pilot, no nothing. They could move themselves. The report stated that they actually turned against their own men and started attacking. Some people may say maybe it was a malfunction. Others say, what if the drones purposely decided to take this chance to take out some humans, take out their creators? In 2017, there was even a rumor of Facebook shutting down their AI. They had 2 artificial intelligent robots that were communicating to each other. You see, the goal was to have the 2 robots challenge each other and negotiate a trade. They supposedly gave one robot a ball and one a hat, and they had to discuss on how they would trade or why they should trade. Each item they were given was given a certain value, how we trade money for goods. Again, the robots had been instructed to work out a negotiation. The robots started making up their own language and communicating in a way that the researchers couldn't understand. Now, people believe that Facebook shut them down because the goal of the robots were to be able to communicate with humans, while others believes that Facebook shut it down because they were actually afraid of the results and panicked. Now check this out. This is actual footage from the company Boston Dynamics. This is a robot they created, and how fluid it moves is impressive. But I don't know. What do you think about all this? Do you think we've actually created living things? Comment down below. Humans playing God can't end well. A tech CEO called her mom and said we are in the Matrix, and this is all an experiment. 5 days later, she was found dead in her car. Check this video out. It's crazy.